Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're journeying to a really captivating hill station, Nainital.
Right. Up in Uttarakhand's Kuman Hills.
Exactly. It's much more than just a pretty getaway, isn't it? It's centered around this stunning lake, but it feels like it pulses with history and culture, too.
It absolutely does. And we've looked at quite a few sources to sort of piece together its story.
Yeah, good collection.
So we're going to delve into, its origins, the myths, the legends, the incredible natural beauty, obviously, and that unique cultural mix that makes it Nainital.
So our mission today, basically, is to pull out the most interesting bits, the core essence of the place for our listeners.
A shortcut to understanding Nainital, yeah. What makes it tick?
Okay, let's start right there with the name, Nainital. It seems so obviously linked to the lake, Naini Lake.
It is, and the sources are clear. It's not just a name. There's a powerful legend behind it.
Tell us about that.
Well, it's fascinating how central this story is. The name, Nainital, points directly to Naini Lake, like you said. And the legend, the main one anyway, says this is the very spot where the Naina of goddess Sati fell.
Ah, the Sati story.
Exactly, when her body was being carried. So this makes Nainital a really important Shakti peeth.
A sacred site.
Hugely significant spiritually.
So people might go for the views, the boating,
Mm-hmm.
but they're actually on quite hallowed ground.
That's right. It has this ancient spiritual layer. How do you think that impacts the feel of the town today?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, even with all the tourism, you can still feel a kind of reverence, maybe?
I think so. And having the Naina Devi temple right there on the lakeshore is a constant reminder.
Yeah, it anchors that spiritual side.
It adds something, doesn't it? A sort of depth beneath the surface of the busy town.
Definitely. Okay, moving from myth to, well, the physical place. The geography seems key to its charm. Sources mention the altitude, 2,084 meters.
That's right. And it's surrounded by these 7 hills, the Sapta Shrine.
Sapta Shrine. What's the significance there? Just pretty scenery or more to it?
Well, the altitude itself is crucial. That's why it became a summer retreat, that cooler climate.
Makes sense.
And the 7 hills, the Sapta Shrine, they create this kind of natural amphitheater around the lake.
Ah, yeah.
It really enhances the visual drama, gives you those amazing backdrops from almost anywhere. Maybe the specific names aren't common knowledge, but together they define the whole setting.
It feels sort of cradled by them.
Exactly. It feels quite sheltered, quite intimate.
And the lake itself, Naini Lake, pear-shaped, they say. It must reflect everything beautifully.
Oh, it does. That reflectivity is key. Imagine it in winter, mirroring snow-dusted hills.
Wow.
Or in spring, with all the flowers blooming on the slopes, doubled in the water.
And monsoons.
Probably.
Misty and mysterious.
Yeah, completely different vibe. Ethereal. The lake is like this living centerpiece, always changing. It keeps drawing your eye.
So the natural beauty was always a huge draw. But then the sources talk about a big shift, historically. The British arriving mid-1800s.
Right. That was a major turning point.
What brought them there? Just stumbled upon it.
Well, partly driven by the need to escape the heat of the plains, standard colonial practice.
Looking for hill stations.
Exactly. And Nainital, with its height, its beauty, the lake, it was kind of perfect. So they started developing it as a summer capital, a retreat.
And that meant building things.
A lot of building, infrastructure, obviously, but also churches, prestigious schools, and those very characteristic colonial-style bungalows.
Many of which are still there, right?
Oh, yes. They really define the look of certain parts of the town.
So was it purely about escaping the heat, or did they see something else in Nainital?
Good question. I think it was also about creating a familiar environment, a sort of Little England in the hills.
Right.
The landscape might have felt reminiscent of home, and they liked the idea of building these organized, picturesque towns. It wasn't just about buildings, it shaped the whole social fabric, creating this mix.
A blend of British style and local Kumoni culture.
Precisely, and you still feel that blend today.
I've heard that walking down the Mall Road can feel a bit like time travel.
It can, yeah. It's the architecture, partly, the way the shops are laid out, maybe some old signs.
The vibe?
Yeah, the vibe, too. A sort of leisurely pace, the tradition of strolling. But importantly, it's not stuck in the past.
Right, it's not a museum.
No. You've got modern shops, cafes, buzz. It's that mix of old-world charm and today's energy that's really interesting.
Okay, so if someone's visiting, what are the absolute must-dos? The things that capture that essence?
Well, first off, Naini Lake itself. You have to get out on the water. A boat ride gives you such a different perspective. peaceful.
Looking back at the town from the lake?
Exactly. And right there, the Naina Devi Temple, essential for understanding that spiritual side we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Then for views, Tiffin Top, also called Dorothy's Seat.
Why Dorothy's Seat?
Named after an English artist, Dorothy Kellett, by her husband after she died. But the main draw is the view panoramic sweep of the Himalayas on a clear day.
Wow. Okay. And I read about a cable car.
Yeah, the ropeway. That takes you from Nainital, the top end of Mall Road, up to Snowview Point.
Snowview Point. Sounds promising.
And it delivers even more stunning Himalayan vistas from up there.
Okay, so lake, temple, viewpoints.
Yeah.
What about down in the town itself?
Mall Road is the main drag. You have to walk it. Shops for souvenirs, woolens, candles, places to eat. Just watching people go by.
The heart of the town.
Definitely. And nearby, there's the flats. It's this large, open, level ground right by the lake.
What happens there?
All sorts. Local events, markets, public gatherings, kids playing cricket sometimes. It's a real community space.
Sounds lively. Any other big landmarks?
There's the governor's house, the Raj Pawan. Impressive building, sort of Gothic style. You can often do guided tours.
Okay.
And Gurney House, that was Jim Corbett's home.
The famous conservationist?
That's the one. So interesting for anyone into his story. And then there's the zoo.
A high-altitude zoo.
Yeah, the PTB Beat Pant High Altitude Zoo. It has some really interesting Himalayan animals, red pandas, snow leopards, Himalayan bears.
Red pandas. Cool.
Yeah, they're pretty special. So quite a lot packed into a relatively small area.
It seems like it. Now, what about getting out of the main town area? For nature lovers, hikers?
Oh, plenty for them too. For trekkers, the big one is the hike up to Naina Peak, also called China Peak.
Highest point around.
Yep. The views from the top are just phenomenal, worth the effort, especially for photographers.
Right. Any other viewpoints like that?
There's Land's End, aptly named. You get these dramatic cliffside views. Feels like you're on the edge of everything.
Sounds intense.
It is, in a good way. And for bird watchers, Kilbury Bird Sanctuary is a must.
How far is that?
Not far, a short drive. It's teeming with Himalayan birds. A real paradise if you're into birding or just want some quiet time in nature.
So, options for strollers and serious hikers alike.
Definitely caters to different levels.
Okay, let's shift focus at what about the local culture? The people.
Nainital's culture is, like we said, this interesting mix. Strong Kumani roots blended with the influences from tourism and its history.
And the local people. The sources describe them.
Often described as polite, quite spiritual, and having a deep connection to the natural environment around them. You feel that connection.
And does that come out in local festivals?
Absolutely. The Nanda Devi Fair is a huge one, really vibrant, full of Kumaoni traditions, music, dance. Harela is another important local festival tied to the harvest.
Okay.
And interestingly, Christmas is also a pretty big deal there.
Really? Why is that?
That's a direct echo of the colonial past, the schools, the churches. It's stuck. So you have this blend of Hindu festivals and a prominent Christmas celebration.
Fascinating mix. Now, food, always important. What Kumaoni specialties should people look out for?
Okay, local food. You have to try Kumaoni Raita. It's yogurt, but with cucumber and, crucially, local mountain spices. Very distinctive, tangy, refreshing.
Sounds good. What else?
Patki Chirkani. It's made from black soybeans, cooked slowly, traditionally in an iron pot, which gives it a unique flavor and color.
Hearty mountain food.
Exactly. And aluke gutke spiced, boiled potato chunks, usually with coriander and local chutneys. Simple but delicious.
Potatoes are always good. Any curries?
Yeah, look for raz or jaholi. They are traditional Kumaoni curries, often lentil or gram flour based.
Okay, saving room for dessert. Any local sweets?
Two big ones. Bal mithai is probably the most famous. It's like a dark brown fudge made with roasted koya and coated in tiny white sugar balls.
Well, it's distinctive.
It does. And then there's singari. That's also made from koya, often flavored with cardamom, but it's wrapped and served in a malu leaf.
A leaf.
Yeah, the leaf gives it a subtle, unique aroma. It's really nice.
Intriguing. What about just grabbing a coffee or a quick bite?
Plenty of options. Some popular cafes with nice ambiance, maybe good views, are Sackley's, Giannis, Cafe Chica. Good for coffee, pastries, that kind of thing.
And street food. Mall Road must have stuff.
Oh, yeah. You'll find vendors selling hot momos, Tibetan dumplings, very popular. And a classic neonatal snack is a bun omelet. Simple, filling, perfect mountain fuel.
Okay, duly noted. Now, we touched on the schools built by the British. Nainital still has this reputation as an education hub.
It really does. It's home to some very well-known, prestigious boarding schools.
Yeah.
Sherwood College, St. Joseph's College, All Saints College for Girls.
Old schools.
Very. Many date back to the late 1800s. They have long histories, strong traditions.
And they must contribute to the town's character.
Definitely. Having these big, established institutions brings a certain intellectual vibe, attracts families, and adds another layer to the town's identity beyond just tourism.
Interesting how that coexists with the resort town feel. Okay, practicalities, getting there. How accessible is Nainital?
It's pretty well connected by road. It's about 300 kilometers from Delhi. Lots of buses, taxis available. The drive up is scenic.
Right. Train.
Nearest major railway station is Kathgodam. That's about 34 kilometers away, down in the foothills.
You take a taxi or bus up from Kathgodam.
Exactly. It's a nice drive up the hills. And by air, the closest airport is Pantnagar, about 65 kilometers away.
Okay, so options there. And once you're in Nainital, getting around.
The main town areas around the lake are walkable, especially Mall Road. For longer distances or going uphill, you can get shared taxis or hire a private one.
What about on the lake?
Boating, obviously, paddle boats, rowboats. You can also rent cycles. And in some specific areas, like up to viewpoints, you might find horse rides offered.
A mix of options then. Now, timing. When's the best time to go?
It really depends what you want. For pleasant weather, sightseeing, boating March to June is peak season, nice and comfortable.
Okay. What about later in the year?
September to December is great too. The monsoon rains have passed, skies are often clear, so you get those fantastic Himalayan views. Great for photographers.
And snow.
For snow lovers, aim for January or February. That's when you're most likely to see Nainital draped in white. It's magical, but cold.
Right. Any time to avoid.
The main monsoon season, July and August. It can rain heavily, visibility is poor, and crucially, there's a higher risk of landslides on the roads leading up to Nainital. So, best avoid it if possible.
Good advice. Okay, finally, any hidden gems, places slightly off the main tourist trail?
Yes, definitely. If you venture out a bit, Pangod Village is about 15 kilometers away. It's famous among bird watchers. A really quiet, nature-focused place.
Nice. Any others?
There are other lakes nearby Sadal, Pimtal, Nakutiadal. They're often less crowded than Naini Lake, but still very beautiful, each with its own character. Worth exploring if you have time.
More lakes.
Yeah, the whole area is known as the Lake District of India. For something different, if you're into astronomy, there's ARIES, the Aryabhata Research Institute of Observational Sciences. It's a major observatory nearby. Sometimes they have outreach or visitor programs.
Oh, interesting. Anything within Nainital itself that's quieter?
There's a path called Thandi Sadak. It runs along the other side of the lake, opposite Mall Road. It's much quieter, shaded, a peaceful walk away from the main crowds.
Thandi Sadak Cold Road.
Yeah, because it's shaded and cooler. A nice little escape right there.
It sounds like Nainital really does offer layers. The busy center, the spiritual side, the history, and then these quieter natural escapes all around.
Exactly. It's more than just a destination. It feels like an experience. You get the calmness, the vibrancy, the spirituality, the history, all packed in.
That blend, again, the British legacy, the deep Kumaoni roots, all set against that stunning natural backdrop of the lake and hills.
It's a powerful combination.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How all these different threads, geography, history, culture, weave together to create the unique soul of a place like Nainital. You have the buzz of Mall Road on one side of the lake and the quiet serenity perhaps on Thandi Sadak or looking up at the temple. What does that contrast truly tell us about the dynamic character of this hill station? And how do those visible layers, the colonial buildings next to local markets, enrich the experience for someone visiting today, inviting them perhaps to look a little closer?